Jay, is that a thumbs up? Okay, I'm going to start then, unless someone tells me otherwise that they can't see the slides that are being shared. All right, welcome. I'm glad everyone can be here. Yeah, my name is Kevin Whittinghill. I'm the co-chair of the Dimond Improvement Association. Wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, I cannot, but I'm happy to be here virtually. Looks like we've got a lot of participants, over 70, and a lot in the room. So that's very excited. I'm glad that we have so much interest in our candidates tonight. And before we jump into that, I just want to share a little bit about the DIA, the Dimond Improvement Association. So we were established in 1953, and we are a community-based nonprofit organization with membership and participation open to all. Our vision is to make Oakland's Dimond District a vibrant, safe, and beautiful place for everyone to live, work, shop, and play. And how do we do that? Through a variety of ways. We have multiple committees and multiple projects we're constantly working on. One of them is public art. You can see here, this is a photo from last year. It's the newest mural we've had painted in the Dimond District. This one is visible from the Bank of America parking lot at the intersection of Fruitvale and MacArthur. It's a very beautiful mural. If you haven't seen it yet, please drive by and check it out. You can see our own council member Shang Tao there is participating in the ribbon cutting ceremony. So we definitely love to see a lot of painting, a lot of visual beauty in our district, and we try to promote that as much as possible. Also, we try to keep our district and our commercial area in particular clean. We have a Keep Dimond Clean program. It's a longstanding program to keep our streets clean. 5 days of the week, we contract that out. And 2 other days, we rely on volunteers from the community. And that's, I think, on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I'll go into a little more detail in a bit of how you can volunteer and join. We're also currently fundraising for our Keep Dimond Clean program. And at the bottom of the screen there, you should be able to see keepdimondclean.com. Please visit it. Shoot us a little donation if you can, or if you're willing to volunteer some time to help clean up some of the streets, we'd appreciate it.
We have an audio.
Oh, all right, economic development. That's another focus of ours, and that includes promoting Dimond businesses. We're currently doing a promotion on Facebook for a variety of Dimond businesses now, bringing in new businesses to the Dimond, and we're also actively working to form a business improvement district, a BID, for the Dimond District. Public safety. In this, we work with our Neighborhood Crime Prevention Council, or NCPC. We also operate multiple security cameras throughout the Dimond, and we cooperate with police for investigations and whatnot. And we conduct surveys with our community to determine their safety needs. Building community, we love to do that. From Dimond movie nights that we've held just recently in the Dimond Library parking lot to our annual Oktoberfest. That is our Oktoberfest in the Dimond District. That's every October. So mark your calendars, October 1st and 2nd of this year. There'll be plenty of music, food, merchants, and of course, beer and lederhosen. So I hope you come by and enjoy that. So please support our work. Visit dimondnews.org to learn more about what we're doing. You can become a DIA member. We're always looking for those. You can just simply join us as a volunteer, helping clean up or beautify the Dimond District. There's litter walks, neighborhood beautification, community building, planning fun events, outreach, and communications, and more. So please, if you can, donate to Keep Dimond Clean. And on our website, you can also sign up for our e-newsletter, and you can be kept abreast of all the stuff going on in the Dimond. All right, thank you very much. Jay, back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin.
Good thing.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Let's get on to the main agenda, and we would like to invite mayoral candidates first to the room. As all of you were probably briefed earlier, we're looking for a 3 to 4 minute introductory statement. We're going to get through everybody. I believe we have 13 candidates here. Hopefully everybody's here. So it's going to be fairly quick. But But let's get going. We're going to go the list in order of the list that the city clerk has provided. Yes, sir.
I'm also a candidate.
Okay, well, you'll be, if your name's on the list, you'll be called, and if not, we'll make sure you get up. Yeah, yeah. Do we have Monisha Carter in the room? Monisha Carter? Okay. Mr. Ignacio de la Fuente, would you like to come forward, sir? Yeah, have a seat so the folks online can see you. Yeah.
I'm better when I'm standing up. Ready? Okay.
You're ready to go.
Good evening. My name is Ignacio de la Fuente. Thank you. I had the privilege to represent District 5 in the City Council for almost 20 and a half years. I was not born in Oakland, but I have lived in Oakland 51 years of my life. And I retired in 2012. And I can tell you that as a citizen of Oakland, what it brings me back into the political game is the fact that our city is going in my opinion, not only the wrong direction, but the realities of today's for businesses and people in Oakland is that you cannot walk the streets, you cannot park your car, you cannot even have to close your business early. You know, we used to have some vibrant districts like that, the Dimond District, like Chinatown, like Fruitville. And those districts now, when you go around 4 or 5 o'clock, they're already closed. Why they close? Because they're afraid. Businesses are afraid to be open. Businesses are afraid of being robbed. Businesses are afraid to being beat up. And I think that one of the reasons why I'm coming back is to trying to really concentrate in fixing two things. I believe that we cannot allow the crime to continue in Oakland. We cannot allow our citizens to be affected. We cannot allow to continue in the direction that we're going. I'm running because I believe that we have the resources in the city to do a better job protecting our citizens and protecting our businesses. I'm running because I believe that we have, and historically, worked with businesses in the city and do our best for the city, but at the same time, at this time, we are, for some reason, we are being allowed things to happen in Oakland that doesn't happen anywhere else. People come to Oakland just to do things that they don't do anywhere else. Why? Because we let them. I think that the mayor of the city has to take public safety and the homelessness issue and the encampments that are destroying our businesses seriously and really do something about it. And I just thought that actually really enforce the laws that we have, enforce the ordinance that we have to control what's happening in the city of Oakland, especially with the encampment situation. So I'm running because I'm tired of what's happening in Oakland. I'm running because like you, I pay taxes and I expect to have services in return. So for that reasons, I believe that not only the almost 21 years that I serve in the city council, but the experience that I have in the city council, but the track record that I have in the city council. I think one of those people that you can go back and check what I did or didn't do in the 20 years that I was there. Once you vote, your record is there. And I'm very proud of the fact that I represent not only this district, but the entire city of Oakland, not only with the commitment of making sure that the city is safe, and I'm willing to go back and do the same thing again. So I believe there's a lot of good people running. But what it boils down to is the experience, and what it boils down to is if you will have the political backbone to do what it takes to actually really deal with the situation that we are facing. All of us have good ideas, and all of us have, but the question is that you can implement them. The question is that once you're there, you will have the political will to actually do it. And that's the reason why I'm running, because I believe that I not only proved it before, but I'm gonna prove it now. That I'm coming back because I believe that I'm, at this time, post-COVID and all the challenges that we're facing, I believe that I'm the best person, the most qualified person, the person with a political backbone to actually make things happen and get things done. That's the reason why I asked for your support. Again, my name is Ignacio de la Fuente, former president of the Oakland City Council, and hopefully you will give me your support. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. So now
We're good. Yeah, you can. Thank you so much. Is Gregory Hodge in the room? Welcome. Thank you.
Start whenever.
Yeah, have the camera so that they can see you.
Yeah, yeah, we're there. And first of all, hi everybody. How are you? Okay. My name is Greg Hodge, and I'll be honored to serve as your next mayor. The reason I'm here tonight is because I love Oakland, just like you love Oakland. Those of you who are, and I'm noticing a few people wearing the Dimond Shine Day shirts. Last time I saw some of you was on that day. We were here working on behalf of our city because we love where we live. We love the people. We love this place. And it is time for a serious transformation in our city. Part of what I think I bring to this is 40 years of experience of working in the community as a school board member, as a workforce investment board member, but also as the CEO of several nonprofit organizations. What we are looking at in this moment, I think, is a major moment in American politics, and it plays out nationally and locally. I'm someone who believes in reproductive health, that every person should have a right to decide how their body is taken care of. This issue around Roe versus Wade and how it plays out locally is important. And this election is going to be critical for Oakland's future. You're going to have a new mayor. You're going to have at least 3 new people on city council, 4 new people on the school board, and 1 new member of the board of supervisors. This is a moment to move from political transactions to systems transformation. Most of us understand, and this is where I think it's really important to talk about everybody's experience, the relevant experience of actually getting things done. Because in this next period of time, it's going to be really important to do 3 things. To listen. Listen to what Oaklanders say about safety, what we say about housing, what we say about economic opportunity. If we're not willing to listen, if we're willing to do the same old, we're going to get the same old. Some of us should be asking the question that Janet Jackson used to ask. What have you done for me lately? Let's figure out who worked in this community around COVID. I've been part of a group called African American Response Circle. We raised $1.1 million and redistributed it out to nonprofit organizations for COVID testing, for vaccine, pop-ups like at Truvine and Roost Community Clinic and other places. We made sure that small businesses got a little bit of money to keep them going. That part of my background goes along with the idea that I've been a consensus builder as a facilitative leader. The second thing I want to say is I've been a community lawyer. The third thing is I've been in the arts community. I care about arts. As a musician at the Malanga Center for the last 30 some odd years, 3 of my children are artists. 2 are working artists, and the 13-year-old who thinks she's grown is also an artist. The notion of hope and healing is kind of what I'm bringing to bear on this. And as a minister, I have done baby naming ceremonies all the way to doing funerals and other memorials. We honor our elders. We honor our ancestors. People like Bill Russell. Bill Russell is emblematic of the greatness of Oakland. He's a McClymonds High School graduate. And as I understand it, Bill Russell came off the bench at McClymonds. So I can't imagine what the other players must have been like, right? The third piece is I've been a policy advocate. I've been part of Kids First, OFCY. I'm a founder of the Freedom Schools, the Executive Alliance for Boys and Men of Color nationally, which focuses on the conditions of Black and brown children. And the notion of being able to listen, and I know my time is short. Last night, we had National Night Out. Many of us got a chance to move around the city and listen to people. People were not talking about Howard Terminal. People were not talking about some of this. You know what they were talking about? Safety. They were talking about safety. I met moms in the Acorn community, one mom in particular who lost 2 children to street violence. We were talking about what happened at Oakland Tech with the youth football teams that were playing, and a 6-year-old got shot. 2 adults got shot. They didn't die, but they're traumatized. We got into the place where people ask the question, well, did they die? No, it was a shooting. That's not normal. We got into the place where we act like that's normal in Oakland, and it is not. We have to reimagine our safety. Policing is part of that. Social services is part of that. We have to reimagine jobs and training. We have to reimagine housing. I'd be honored to serve as your mayor. See us at www.hodgeforoakland.com, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Is Derek Johnson in the room? He's decided not to run. Okay. He was still on the list when we pulled it. Tyrone Jordan. I didn't see either of them online either. Okay. Is Mr. Peter Liu.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, welcome.
Hi, my name is Peter Liu. I've lived in Oakland for 35 years, ever since 1987 when I came here. So I went through all the school system, went to UC Santa Cruz, and I went to the military and the Army as a journalist, and served overseas in Iraq as a combat veteran. I came back, there was no jobs for me for 2 years as I was looking around. And so I came up with my own plan called the CESP5, and it started teaching people about the concept. And now I have fans worldwide. Some of them make like $35,000 a month organizing these games in which they bring their business ideas, and they vote on who's got the best ideas. And whoever's the best ideas is the leader of the group. And with the resumes, they select who's going to be a treasurer, who's going to be a secretary. So through that process, I learned about capitalism, and now I'm a multimillionaire. I want to teach the kids the same things that I have learned through my experience. And teaching kids how to be rich would allow them to survive on the legal route. You know, if you don't teach them how to be rich the legal route, they're gonna do some criminal stuff, maybe, you know, started stealing just to survive. So from my experience, if I teach them how to be rich the legal way, then they would have a better life. And that's what I'm trying to teach kids. And also, I'm advocating for unique parks in Oakland. We have like about 40 some parks, and each park could be a unique theme park experience. You know, this is like for San Antonio Park, for example, it has been neglected for years. And if I was mayor, I would put in skate ring, slides for kids, tree houses, zip line across trees. This would bring local jobs and bring in tourism, because we need to reinvent Oakland. We lost, you know, several these sports teams, so we have to reinvent ourselves in order to attract tourism to Oakland, and that would boost up tax revenues to do other things, like you know, for supporting the homeless, for example, that type of thing. And this would bring a lot of fun for kids. You know, I would put in giant water slides at Lake Merritt, for example, and it'll be huge. You know, people would go to have fun in Oakland versus, you know, driving some like 40 some miles to like Great America or Concord. You know, it'll be something that would be a unique, that would place Oakland in like the top two, you know, like entertainment places. So yeah, it's something that we need. Thank you.
Okay, do we have John Marks in the room? Owens Albert, come forward, sir.
First thing I'd like to say is greetings to everyone. My name is Albert Owens, and I'm running for the mayor of Oakland, California. There's a big difference of change. It says change. People want change. People want this. People want that. But change starts with leadership. If one is willing to step up to the plate and lead, first of all, education is number one. Recreation is number two. Housing, you know what I'm saying? I take it back. Housing for the homeless is number one. Medicare is number two. Anyway, the bottom line is having these points means a lot. Coming together with a team to create these thoughts will only help, because by us closing down all the schools in Oakland, that only opens the door to penitentiaries. By us closing down education and recreation centers, that opens the doors of kids hanging out on the corners, hustling to get some money because they don't have an education. to hustle, to have to go get a good job, be on a council meeting, and they're struggling. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to be homeless. I know what it feels like. Yeah, to be out there on the streets. Intense. I know what it feels like because education plays a very important part, not only for the kids of tomorrow, but for everybody. Recreation centers could only open the doors to kids learning how to have a trade, to go out and hustle, to hustle in a good manner. But you know what I'm saying? When you, if I wouldn't want my worst enemies to walk, be in my shoes. I've been shot 6 times. I was dead. They forgot all about me. But God raised me and told me to get up, and I got up after they said I was gone. I made some bad choices in the past. But when I look at the youngsters running around, nothing to do, no recreation centers, no schools, no volunteers to even step up to the plate to help the kids. Everybody talk a good one. But participating, if you ain't got it, they don't want to help you. They want to help a kid that's already smart. But anyway, I'm working on a lot. I'm working on rejuvenation of the mind, coming up with a plan to help the kids of tomorrow, to help the homeless. The homeless have a right to be homeless. And then the homeless have a right to have housing. The homeless have a right to have Medicare. What about if they don't know which way to go to get Medicare? They don't have a ride to call Uber, nothing like that. Well, and they die in a tent. I lost a brother in a tent. My oldest brother died in a tent. Shut down. I don't know. We was looking for him. Didn't know which way to find him, but we found him. But what if it's too late? Growth is everything. Leadership starts with this stuff. You know, with a team, with a good team, I can help. I can participate. I just don't want nobody, you know what I'm saying, me to overlook and undermine me. Because in order to talk a good one, I wouldn't want none of y'all to walk in my shoes. If I tell you don't go up that alley, don't go up that alley. Because you know why? I created that. If you go up that alley, it's on you. When you come up out of it, if you come up out of it, it's on you. But I wouldn't want that to happen. I'm saying for the kids of tomorrow, the only way this could happen is change. Change is possible. People helping peoples. I'm running for the mayor of Oakland, and thank you. Yep. Over on.
Thank you very much. Miss Councilmember Reed, Treva Reed, are you online? There you are. Thank you.
I am online. Can you hear me okay?
Give us just a sec, Treva. We had a little bit of an audio issue in the room. We're gonna do our very best here. I'll give you the go ahead in just a sec.
Thank you.
Okay. Pray for me. Treva, mute. Yeah. Treva, I think you're good.
Did you clear me? I'm okay. I can't hear you. I just want to make sure I'm good. Okay. Hello, everyone. I regret that I'm not there with many of you in person, and hello to those who are joining virtually like I am. It's exciting to be with you. I grew up on MacArthur in the Dimond District, and I still love staying connected out there in the corridor. I'm Treva Reed. I am someone that I love to speak about just being tenacious, being determined, and being just a resilient single mother who is now running to serve as our mayor to deliver for all of us, not managing us through a time of crisis, but leading Oakland through this critical crossroads as a leader of integrity, accountability, and action with solutions and not excuses. This is a moment that we have heard, even with the others speaking, that it is time for change, and change with this contagious hope in action, courageous leadership, someone working to not politic and politrick the needs of the people, which have been a disservice to us, but to truly show up fighting for the community, with the community, and ensuring that we deliver on the priorities that we hear from you. I grew up facing really tough challenges. I've endured childhood trauma, certainly family instability, and I learned at an early age how to fight for my life, how to make a way out of no way, and how to stand strong with others to see them come through their life situations. I was born the oldest granddaughter of my father's siblings, of 130 cousins. Now it's over 130. I think I have to stop counting now. And over 50 on my mom's side. And we grew up building relationships in our home, with our community, and as my great-grandmother led us out civically as a voting precinct captain, a family of public servants and teachers, small business owners, faith leaders, childcare providers, construction and manufacturing workers, hardworking family who believed in not leaving anyone behind, and that when you love people, you take care of people and you show up for people. And that's what I brought in serving our city as a council member, and that's what I would do in serving as our mayor if elected. As mayor, it's important that as we face this time of financial and just the life crisis of this pandemic that we've been in, it was around this time last year that I realized the significant opportunity to serve as mayor, to propose a multi-billion-dollar budget that ensures we deliver equity in how and where we allocate our dollars, how we execute effectively the administrative priorities, having our leaders show up, meeting with community in community, to direct response, to have critical service implementation, to make sure we show up with outcomes that keep us housed, that address the violence and crime issues that are before us with prevention, intervention, and healing and trauma care. It's ensuring that we've got transportation access, economic and workforce development, that we've got good paving on our roads and those paving plans are moving forward, that we've got youth programs and senior services, our schools and our students are supported. And it's what you said about your initiatives in your own Dimond, keep Dimond clean. It's keeping our city clean, keeping us healthy and beautiful throughout the city for all of us to thrive, with our parks open and maintained, with our business corridors vibrant, with our neighbors staying rooted in Oakland for generations to come, from the flatlands to the hills, from East Oakland to West Oakland. And as mayor, I want to continue to build on those relationships from the community into City Hall, from a seat of influence that will unite, that will work to collaborate, and that will do what I have lived to do, which is lead with a strategy of love that inspires that contagious hope and that brings us back together all over the town. I've been doing this work in our community. I've been facing the issues that have been spoken about. I've lived being housing insecure, living 20 to 30 deep in a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom. I've been unemployed, coming from working from Nancy Skinner, having served with her while she was in the state legislature in the assembly. I've suffered the deep trauma of losing our son, Brandon, to gun violence. I've endured domestic violence. I've had to overcome many life situations before the pandemic that I didn't believe that I was going to come out of. And yet I stood strong, and I stand strong with community who are now facing those situations and many more. Prior to coming on the council, I served on over a dozen boards of organizations: East Oakland Youth Development Center, Satellite Affordable Housing, Youth Alive, The Crucible, with the League of Women Voters, with multiple business chambers. I co-founded Triumphant Women, where we worked in partnership with organizations like the Oakland Elizabeth House, a transitional home for single women, partnering with Wardrobe for Opportunities and others to help women, primarily single mothers like me, learn to thrive in every season of their life with a supportive network. I've worked for Assemblymember then and now State Senator Nancy Skinner on policies that funded and benefited Oakland residents and businesses, taking the lead for her for Alameda County and particularly in Oakland. I've led out in Fortune 500 and Fortune 200 businesses. I've led as a regional district marketing, sales, and service manager for Ford Motor Company, helping businesses grow and thrive in those markets, turning one of the bottom 5 regions of Ford Motor Company in this nation around in 9 months to the top 5. I've led in business. I've led in legislative work, and I've lived the experience that many of us are working to overcome. And so I leverage all of that lived legislative and professional experience to stand strong in this moment. I've served as the first Black woman president of our Stop Waste Recycling and Reduction Board, working to address the environmental initiatives and priorities that are before us. Oakland is at a crossroads of change like never before. And I am motivated with a clear focus on our people, on your priorities, to keep you housed and housing our unhoused permanently, to prioritize and invest more deeply in public safety and crime prevention and services and resources, and having the staff and the officers to show up for us and with us, loving on our town, keeping Oakland clean and beautiful, keeping Oaklanders working in Oakland and our businesses open, keeping our schools open and our teachers supported, as my mom is a retired public school teacher, and our students thriving academically. And I would ensure that we prioritize racial and gender equity to ensure that as we're working on recovering, that it is equitable, it is just, and it is resilient for all of us, and collaborating more deeply with our county, our state, and our federal government. Thank you for this time, and I look forward to speaking and engaging with you more.
Thank you, Treva. Is John Ryman? Stephen Shear. Okay, Seneca Scott, we're going to promote you to panelist next.
Okay, can you hear me?
We might turn this back off for a sec. I know. Sorry, folks. Seneca, give us just a moment here, if you would, please.
Beg your pardon?
That's down. I'm gonna turn this off.
I don't know what's going on.
Turn it all the way up, please, clockwise. Thank you.
Let me ask me again.
I think you're good.
You can make his bigger, you know.
Ooh, that's
Right,
loud.
right.
Okay, let me see. All right. Hello, everyone. Let me know when my audio is good to go.
You're good. Please do speak loudly.
All right, is this good? This volume? Talk like Samuel L. Jackson, always yelling? Can everyone hear me? All right, give me the green light when my timer starts and we'll get started. Okay, I'm gonna take that as a go. Thank you, people in the audience. My apologies for not being able to be there in person. And thank you, Zoom people and digital people, for having me. My name is Seneca Scott. I'm from West Oakland, Lower Bottom. I come from Cleveland, Ohio, by way of Los Angeles. I've been in Oakland for 10 years, and I have fallen in love with this city madly. Oakland is the absolute best place that I believe in the world. We have perfect weather, we have perfect people, we have everything that we need right here to make a change that we need. So, a little bit background. I came here in 2012 as the East Bay Director of SCIU 1021, where I led city workers, front workers through a historic strike, and lots of city workers to get better wages and benefit. And then I took what I thought was going to be a sabbatical, which ended up becoming an entirely new life, being a soil justice advocate, a soil warrior, and a community gardener. I founded Ocala Festivals, co-founded Bottoms Up Community Garden. At our community garden today, we had a lot of mayoral candidates. Shout out to you guys coming to the West to see what we got going on there. I appreciate you. And then founding Neighbors Together Oakland. And Neighbors Together Oakland is dear to me, my nonprofit, but it's bittersweet what led to it. And what led to it is Oakland's crisis. The lowest vibration is shame. The shame that we feel every day as we watch our unhoused brothers and sisters. We can't do anything about it, or so we think. We allow them to die in misery and separation. We call it compassion, but it's contempt to me. It's disgusting. I'm disgusted in myself. I'm disgusted in all of us for allowing these things to happen. And so I had to do something about it. As a professional organizer, like Leah Newsom said, and Taken, I had a particular set of skills. So I wanted to get back into politics, so I ran for city council. We entered the race at the last minute. We didn't have a lot of money, but we did a great job and got a lot of votes. And I founded Neighbors Together to take on our homeless crisis. The city passed an encampment management policy during our last election that they routinely ignored and failed to implement. We filed a lawsuit, my nonprofit, because of this. We go to court August 18th for accountability. Accountability to house our unhoused neighbors, accountability to provide them the services that right now that we believe are arbitrary and capricious in how they're rendered. But let's make no mistake about this. The face of homelessness has changed. Prior to 2019, 2020, during the pandemic, 80% of unhoused people were Black, and they went homeless in the neighborhoods they grew up in. Then the pandemic hit, we've had an eviction moratorium since. Our homelessness has grew 24%. A 4. These are not Oaklanders. These are people coming here for our drug tourism, for the fact that we have complete lawlessness in our street, the fact that we have 18+ minute response time for 911 to pick up the phone for a violent crime. There's absolutely no rule of law in Oakland. It's scary. We're losing businesses. We're losing opportunities. We're losing our promise. We're losing our blessings as a city that should have everything because of the people who live here. And the reason that I believe that's happening is because the people of Oakland aren't being represented. The neighbors, the local businesses, and the small property owners, not your commercial real estate, although I got footage there too, but not them. They're represented, they got money. You know who doesn't have money? We don't have money. Our small businesses don't have money to keep repairing broken windows. Our small businesses don't have money to keep getting robbed at gunpoint. I asked a business in the Diamond yesterday where I was getting a smoothie. He didn't take cash. I asked him why. He said they've been robbed at gunpoint too many times. That is absolutely unacceptable to have this crime. We have this crime because we don't have enough police. We don't have enough police because we don't have a clear and dedicated response to what we do in Oakland. I'm not talking about LA. I'm not talking about anywhere else but Oakland. OPD is not LAPD. I come from LA. LAPD can get the finger. OPD gets the thumbs up. This ain't that. We need to be realistic about what we're facing and stop using a performative altruism for political brownie points. I'll move on. To the good stuff.
Time, Seneca.
Beg your pardon?
We're at time.
Okay, so I have a plan for the Department of Agriculture to grow more food across Oakland, use our tax abated land, bring neighbors together around things that can unite us and not divide us, because I believe that we deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have Derek Sue?
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Derek Sue. I am a third-generation Oaklander. My family starts in Oakland going back to 1904. And with 1904, my family became one of the legacy families here in Oakland with the Pacific Coast Cannery. we put Oakland on the map. We made Oakland successful. And we also, during the '06 earthquake, kept people housed and fed for over a year, predominantly the Chinese that were forced out of San Francisco and moved to Oakland. We're also responsible for a lot of the Oakland Chinatown, the 4 main blocks of Chinatown. My family actually founded. Our family association still sits on 9th Street near Webster. And as a 3rd generation Oaklander, it's sad that I have ended up homeless. I am a full-time 8+ year homeless individual on Oakland Street. I know your fear on crime. I live it face to face every day, 24/7, 365 days a year. I've had 8 attempts on my life to murder me because folks thought I was an undercover cop living unhoused. My background is actually 20+ years in working with NSA, Department of Defense, as a counterterrorist specialist, keeping you safe here in the United States. I oversaw 1 of 8 regions in the world. I had a staff of 800 to 1,000 people that I oversaw and a budget of $5.5 billion. So I think I know how to fix the problems here in Oakland. As a homeless person, I've made several proposals to house the homeless with tiny home villages and keeping the cohorts together. And by keeping the cohorts together, we remove a lot of the crimes and the problems that we have with the homeless. Also, we have to get the homeless encampments off city streets and into controlled environments. And that's the way that we're going to address a lot of the criminal element that hides within our neighborhoods right here in homeless encampments. I know firsthand these people. I've been face to face with them. And we've been in fist fights, we've been in gun fights, we've been in knife fights. And my encampment on 77th Avenue, it's the 77th Ave Rangers. We have the only safe site that is sanctioned by the city of Oakland. And so I plan on bringing that same safety that I brought to East Oakland by cooperating with law enforcement and also bringing in counter-terrorist actions so that we can repel those criminals and the crimes that are happening throughout Oakland. Also, I plan on 3 new EIFDs, Enhanced Infrastructure Funding Districts. These will restore and replace the lost business and also lost teams that we've had. Also sets up community benefits that are second to none. And then the last thing I want to say, one of the things that we aren't able to do with OPD is force our officers to live within the city limits. So what we have to do, we have to create a new fast reaction security force, which is my community safety officers. And that's how we're going to drop our 911 response times from 8 minutes, sometimes 24 hours, down to 3 minutes or 5 minutes or less. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up, Councilmember Lauren Taylor. There he is. Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, we're good to go? Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Lauren Taylor. I am the current city council member representing District 6 in City Hall. I first want to begin by thanking the Dimond Improvement Association for hosting this event this evening. It is great to be back in the Dimond. I have a lot of fond memories and learned a lot of life lessons here in this area. I was a Boy Scout camp leader at Diamond Park over here when I was in Boy Scouts. I took my swim class. We swam at Lions Pool. over here in Diamond Park. And I also learned how to drive across the way. There was a driving school across from the old post office, it said. So it's great to be back. A lot of great memories here. And I am really excited about being able to step up for my city in a way that is really impactful. A lot of people ask me how I, as a biomedical engineer, turned management consultant and entrepreneur, ended up in politics as a politician, a local elected official. Well, it all comes back to those experiences that I had as a child with people who poured into me, their sweat, their blood, their tears, their time, and their energy, giving me a model of service. That to those who much is given, much is required, and that if you see something that's broken and not working right in your community, it's incumbent on you to step up and fix it as opposed to waiting for someone else to do that. So that's what's been guiding me my entire career. And yes, my grandparents moved here in the 40s. I too am a third generation Oaklander. When they moved here, they moved for the promise of a better life for themselves and future generations of their families. That Oakland dream that was available to them, what allows me to stand in front of you today, is not available to too many Oaklanders today. And that is what I am running to be able to solve as Oakland's next mayor. Yes, we have to ensure that the dream of Oakland is delivered for the immigrant families who move here in search of a better life. We have to deliver that dream. For the entrepreneur who has an idea on how they can create more value for themselves, for their families, and reinvesting in the community, we have to deliver on that dream. And yes, for the parents in East Oakland or West Oakland Flatlands who have a dream that their children do not have to be saddled with the future that is predestined to them based on the zip code that they live in. We have to deliver on that dream. And so it's not just about talking and setting a vision for where we go. It's also about being able to implement and realize it. And so, yes, as a professional problem solver before coming into City Hall, in City Hall, I look forward to doing those same things, taking our tough problems, tackling them head on. Every challenge, major problem we face here in Oakland is deeply personal to me. And so when it comes to public safety, it's not just about having a knee-jerk reaction to calls to defund the police. It's not about just having a knee-jerk reaction to just throwing as much money as you can at the police. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have architected and co-chaired our Reimagining Public Safety Task Force that ensured that we created a just, equitable public safety system and kept our community safe. We're on track to do that, and there's more that we have to do, and I'm looking forward to doing that as Oakland's next mayor. Also, when it comes to homelessness, I'm grateful to have been able to chair our Life Enrichment Committee, under which homelessness falls. When I first came into office, we did not have a single unifying strategy for how we were going to address homelessness through the council. We passed the Permanent Access to Housing Plan and the encampment management policies under my leadership of the committee. And yes, we have more to do. That's why I'm looking forward to moving from the legislative branch to the executive branch to make sure that we deliver on the legislative intent and actually start to realize the benefits of those policies and others as we invest into the prevention, the real-time response, and the long-term housing for our unhoused residents. I could go on with economic development. We turned assets that were underutilized, like a vacant lot at the corner of Foothill and 73rd. We turned that into an urban oasis we now call Liberation Park. It boasts an outdoor roller skating rink, turf field, and a place where community can come together and celebrate in the heart of East Oakland. Those are the things that I look forward to expanding on and building as Oakland's next mayor. And I look forward to partnering with you to deliver that. So yes, it's not just what we do, it's how we do it. And for me, as an operations consultant, that is something that I have been honing my entire life. And I look forward to applying that to my hometown, Oakland, so that we can move forward, addressing our toughest challenges and lifting up all Oaklanders in the process. So with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity. Again, I'm Lauren Taylor. I'm focused on results over rhetoric and making progress instead of playing politics. I'm running for Oakland's next mayor, and I look forward to your support. Learn more at laurenforoakland.com. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is Councilmember Sheng Tao? Oh, there she is. Welcome.
How's it going? I'm gonna make sure that this is. Yes, I am. Perfect. Good evening, everyone. My Dimond people, this is my beautiful District 4 here, and I'm so happy to be here with you all. I am sporting the t-shirt for sure. As you all, or some of you may know, I am a daughter of refugee, a single mother, DV survivor, and I put myself through school. First, community college, Merritt College, where I graduated as valedictorian, and then went over to UC Berkeley, where I helped co-found a food pantry for the starving students. We always hear about that, but no one did anything. So myself and some of my friends, we put in the work, rolled up our sleeves and put in the work to make sure that we created that bear pantry. I am also a student from Mills as well too, and so fighting to make sure that Mills stays open. I believe that experience matters, and I also believe that effectiveness is even more important. The reason why is because we in Oakland are at a very pivotal point. We have many different crises, right, that are going on right now, from affordable housing to our unhoused communities, to public safety, to access to opportunities. And so our next leader needs to be able to start on day one, or actually starting today already. And that's exactly what I am doing. We are planting the seed so that when I am your mayor starting January, that we can get to work immediately, because there's no time to be wasted. I have a strong track record of making sure that people are being pulled together. And my staff is totally messing up my whole spiel. I have a track record of bringing people together. And a solid example of that is the progressive business tax. We had 3 different groups that wanted to put a ballot measure on the ballot for us, for all of us to vote on, so that we can determine how to get more tax dollars from big businesses so that we can have services such as pickup for illegal dumping, for our parks, for our libraries. And I said, actually, that's not fair. That's not fair to actually put all the onerous on the voters. Let's come together. I pulled all 3 sides together, and we were able to walk out after 2 months with one ballot measure that we all agree with. That is the kind of leader that Oakland needs in this moment. That is just one example. But in order to be an effective leader, I have other great examples. For example, Dimond Park here. When you start on day one, you can reap those benefits within a couple of years or in a year. We see that with the tennis courts. That has been renovated. We see that Dimond Park is cleaner than ever, with the bathrooms being cleaned up twice daily. The pool has been renovated because I fought for funding for that. You have to know where the money is at in order to bring resources to the city of Oakland. And that is why I am so proud to have the sole endorsement of the Wellstone Democratic Club, the sole endorsement of Block by Block organizing network here in the city of Oakland, the sole endorsement of Planned Parenthood. We all know that this is a huge fight right now. I have the sole endorsement of nurses and firefighters, Attorney General Rob Bontas, Speaker Anthony Rendon, Majority Leader Eloise Gomez Reyes, Senator Dave Min, Congressman Ro Khanna, Judy Chu, and so many more, Supervisor Valle. I tell you these endorsements because I can tell you that we are going to need help in the city of Oakland. In order to get back on track, we're going to need a leader who can work with those at the state level, at the federal level, at the Board of Suits, to bring in more money, to bring in more resources for our city. And that is the kind of leadership that I have proven to have and to be able to implement on day one. I have more than 10 years of experience at City Hall, not as a politician. This is my first term, but as a staffer. And that is important because that means I understand the bottlenecks of each of the departments, so that when I take my job as Oakland's mayor, I can start implementing on that very first day. And I think that is incredibly critical. I also believe that public land for public good. And this is why I fought for 100% affordable housing at East 12th Street, and we won that fight, and that's what's going to happen. We see market rate housing go past 130%. And I am so happy that here in District 4, again, on day one, I fought for, worked with a private owner, and now that parcel across from Degrees Clottos on MacArthur and High Street, that's going to be 197 affordable workforce housing. In District 4, above 580. Above 580. Because you should be able to live anywhere you want to in this beautiful city of Oakland. During the pandemic, I got together with UCSF, did a partnership, and created OMAC, Oakland Mutual Aid Collective, where we passed out over 100,000 pieces of PPE, utilizing my elected position to fundraise and give back to the community. Thank you, everyone. My name is Shane Cow. I'm the council president pro tem. I would love to have your endorsement. Find out more about me at shane4foroakland.com. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is Ms. Alyssa Victory Villanueva? And here you are, welcome.
Good evening, y'all. Good evening. I'm the last of the mayoral candidates, and then we can kind of shift to a different seat. I'm honored to be here with y'all. Thank you to the Dimond Association for having me here, for hosting this for all of our residents and neighbors. If you don't know who I am, I'm Lisa Villanueva. I'm a civil rights attorney. I'm a labor attorney. I'm a union member with IFPTE Local 20. I've been homeless in this city. I've heard many other candidates have, or some candidates are currently homeless. That lets us know that we're in a state of crisis, that there has been no service on some of these most fundamental issues that we have who are rising up from every part of our city, from every level of experience to lead and to make change. Because it's clear that what we're doing right now is failing. It's not working. Our city has declared homelessness a local emergency ever since 2018. It's 2022, y'all, 4 years later. And our homeless numbers have increased during this entire time. That local emergency is so important because it gives our city emergency powers, emergency resources, ability to take emergency assistance from other agencies as well. We have not exercised that to our full extent. Instead, we've been sold encampment management policy, which is doing just that. It's managing our encampments. It's our city putting a porta potty and a wash station and saying it's a sanction and that's service. It's our city having police and public works go out to clean up trash every now and then, not necessarily every single person that needs it, and call that service. That is not putting people into housing. That's not guaranteeing any right to housing, and it's not solving our crisis. I understand we're in an urban city. We might always have some people who are unhoused, people who may be at risk if they go paycheck to paycheck. We'll always need some safety net. Right now, we're still at a crisis level. We can't offer any shelter. We can't even evict people from the street because it's illegal, because homeless people have constitutional rights. And I'm raised in this city, in North Oakland specifically, Bushrod Park, 50th and Shattuck. I was raised to be a public servant by this community. I started serving as a middle school student with my church, True Vine Missionary Baptist in West Oakland. I would do food and clothing distribution every single weekend. Wasn't necessarily by choice because my mother was in the ministry, but I started to see that it was people who looked like me. It was people of all ages, children, elders, who did not have food, who did not have clothes. This was decades ago in our city. Just today, I saw all of our elders lined up at right underneath the overpass of the MacArthur base, waiting to get food at that critical distribution center that's kind of technically Emory Joe, right? We still have food insecurity. People are in crisis. We've had historic emergency funds during the pandemic to address our public health crisis, to address our emergencies. We already had local homelessness as an emergency when we received those funds. Again, we're not seeing any inroads. We're not seeing any reduction. We're actually seeing people increase. Right? I'm running on high quality public services. I'm running a 7-point platform that centers service. Service underlies everything that we're seeing. We must actually provide homeless services instead of manage people living in tent communities. I've been homeless. I know what it takes. I know the dangers of people being on the street. My entire family was homeless with me at the end of high school. I still overcame that circumstance to become first in my family to go to college, to go to law school, My law degree is concentrated in government. I've been serving our city from a professional level, providing legal policy assistance ever since I was a student, working in our city attorney's office on public banking, advising on workers' rights in our community coalition, advising our Reimagined Public Safety Task Force and council members on police funding, on police labor rights, on how to actually implement all of the different proposals that our city and our workers and our residents have put forth. I was on the community benefits agreement negotiations process for 6 months, sponsored by our city, focusing on jobs and economic development. I've been at the front lines. I'm not elected right now, but I'm already operating how I want to serve you all. I'm having a meet and greet at Walking Miller Park in 2 weekends, and this coming weekend we'll be canvassing and talking to neighbors. Please come and join us. We'll also be in Lake Temescal area the same weekend as well. We are talking to neighbors every single day. We're registering people to vote because I am elected to the Democratic Party as a delegate for this Assembly District. I'm also a sponsor of Oakland Youth Vote, and I'm the youngest candidate in the race, and I'm engaging and invigorating our young people, our students, our next generation of Oakland to be engaged and to be partners and stakeholders in this vision. So please learn more about me and sign up at victoryforoakland.com. You can find me on all social media at Victory for Oakland. And I also remind y'all that this is a ranked choice election, so you can be excited about more than one candidate. And I do respect all of the people in this race because it takes a lot to run for office. So thank you again.
Fantastic, thank you so much. We are going to switch gears a little bit here. We've heard from all our mayoral candidates, and thank you to all of you for being here and online tonight. We're going to switch gears to the District 4 City Council seat, and we're pleased to invite Ms. Janani Ramachandran. Sorry, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Yes. Thank you so much to the DIA for hosting this forum tonight. My name is Janani Ramachandran. I'm a legal aid attorney. I'm the daughter of immigrants from a small South Indian village, and I'm your fellow Dimond neighbor running to be your next city council member. Thank you. I'm running for city council because, like many of you, I am sick and tired of the dysfunction. I'm tired of the insider games and infighting that has led Oakland to the state it's in today. Deep public safety issues, so we feel unsafe in our homes and in our streets. Pervasive violence that threatens the lives and livelihoods of our longtime Oakland communities and small businesses that make our town beautiful. I'm ashamed to live in a town where it is easier for a young person to get access to a homemade ghost gun over a paid summer job. I'm ashamed to live in a town that the United Nations has declared as having an unprecedented homelessness crisis comparable to other major countries. And I'm ashamed to live in a city where our roads are in the worst condition they've been in modern history. I'm sick of the egos and the infighting that has led to unprecedented numbers of pedestrian and cyclist deaths right here in District 4. And I'm tired of the apathy that has led us to an unprecedented fire season because of a lack of commitment towards true vegetation management and emergency preparedness. In my career as a legal aid attorney, I've represented survivors of domestic violence, workers, small business owners, so many of those who are failed by our policies that do not take into account the realities of what's happening on the ground. Time and time and again, I sat on the other side of the advocacy table, pleading with our elected officials to tell them to do more. I told stories of pain and suffering and resilience, and time and again, I heard the same words, I'm sorry, that's sad. But no, we're not going to do anything about it because it is just too hard to change the system. It is precisely the system that demands immediate change. So I decided to join the City of Oakland Public Ethics Commission, where I saw clearly who holds power in this town and why our neighborhoods get shut out. I saw the mismanaged funds, the growing debt, the corruption, the greed, and that is why we deserve radical transparency. We deserve leaders that are responsive to the voices of constituents and not to those of powerful corporate donors. We deserve bold leaders who will always ask the questions of where our money is going. We deserve leaders that we can trust, trustworthy leaders who can restore our faith in our democratic institutions. I'm honored in this election to be endorsed by ethics-driven leaders, including former Mayor of Oakland, Elihu Harris, Congressman Ro Khanna, 3 Democratic clubs, dozens of labor unions, elected officials, transit directors, school board directors, and so many more who believe that this is our moment in Oakland for change. Every single one of us in this physical and virtual room holds the power to build the movement that we need, whether it's cleaning up and putting up your sweat equity into cleaning Dimond Park, or rooting out invasive species in Joaquin Miller, or building community safety at 22X and Y, or being right here in this room, conducting the very dialogue that we need. We hold the power to change Oakland. We hold the power to build the movement for accountability, for equity, and love for our town. So I invite you to join this movement, JennenyForOakland.com. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tina, welcome.
I got overdressed, so I had to figure it out. We got 83 people. 83 people who can make a difference. 83 people in this room, outside of the room. That's a lot of people. I'm just very grateful to be here tonight. This is truly exciting. Some people will say I got into the race late. I've been on time. I actually been working at it. You know, my name is Nina Joyner. I'm 27-year resident of Oakland, 13-year business owner. I started that car out of the trunk of my car. I started that business out of the trunk of my car. I'm a cyclist, I'm a runner, I'm a hiker, I'm a swimmer. I actually go over here and get on the list to get at the Diamond Pool. I swim at Mills College. So, you know, I'm actually here because I'm here for all of it. This race is personal to me. It's about wanting to be the leader that knows Oakland, all of Oakland. The relationships necessary to get the solutions done. Accelerate the solutions. I want to be the leader District 4 needs to actually make sure that people out in our community know that we're the crown jewel and actually encourage and inspire other people in other districts to do the same work that we're doing. This is about lived experience, the pain. Let's not forget the joy of Oakland. It's very clear to me at a cellular level. Riding the bus, walking around Oakland, riding in the car. This is about the Oakland that I love, that I have invested in, not just from a car, not just as a pedestrian, but as a cyclist and also a person who loves public transportation. I understand how to work with people on the solutions, but I am acutely clear on the issues. My nephew, Samuel Washington, is facing 4 attempted murders. My niece, who's now transitioned in prison, was on the same floor below my nephew in the Sacramento County Jail. They're in prison, excuse me. This is something that my family has grappled with. I had an uncle who died as a lifer in Nevada State Prison. As a kid, I visited these places. This is about my community. I feel that I can bring that solution to my community. My 3 points: housing the unhoused. We cannot forget about housing insecurity. The other point, public safety. And the other point, the last point, is infrastructure and economic development. With housing the unhoused, we must expand the housing options. But we also have land out there. We need to make sure that our land role of public land is actually known by the zoning and planning department. We must develop opportunities because we're talking about housing. Nobody is talking about jobs. You have to stay housed and you have to get employment to people. Benefits, fixed income, I'm very clear on that, is not enough. We need to make sure that we have deeply affordable housing out there and make sure everybody can live and work in this city with those benefits and those income. Public safety. This is personal to me. As a business owner, 13 years, as I said, started out of the trunk of my car. I came home one night. Everybody has this story. I came home one night. 4 men, young men, actually robbed me at gunpoint. Face down on the ground. The only thing I could think about was, can I get my Bible? They said no. I said, okay. I saw my neighbor in the window. My neighbor saw me and he saw what was happening, but he said nothing. That's what we're all doing. We're saying nothing because it's not us. I laid on the ground and I thought, you know, the first thing you're thinking is like robbery. I was thinking rape. I was thinking about what was stolen. I was thinking about my body. I'm glad my body wasn't touched because the trauma that is existing in this world today, a woman's body is sacred. That's why I do the work for women's bodies all day long. You know, all day long. Infrastructure and economic development. No, let's go back to public safety. We're right here across from Flavor Brigade. Everybody had ice cream. Everybody know what we're talking about. So here's the thing about lived experience and ready from the first day. I didn't wait to 101 days to get elected. I started it on the day of the campaign. I started going around to small businesses because I'm a small business owner and asking, what do you need? And that happened for Flavor Brigade. What I did was I called my security guy. I got him a quote for a better security system. I actually called my contractor, had my contractor come out because that was $450,000 someone quoted them. I called the city of Oakland because I understood the process about getting someone out to make sure security systems are out there and that they can come and verify that everything is okay. I'm also working on something else, which is their waste management, making sure that what they're being charged is real. There needs to be transparency on all levels, not just the city hall, but also on other businesses doing business in our city. That's predatory. This is personal to me. Infrastructure and economics. Man, we got an opportunity. The city is supposed to lay the table. The city is supposed to make it sturdy so that when we come in and do business or as residents, we actually have everything we need to create vibrancy, community. This district right here is doing so much, but the city is not doing what they need. I need to know that I'm going to be there. I need you to know that there's economic development that needs to be in here. And my name is Nina Joyner, and I'm running for Oakland City Council right now, today. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Again, we're going to switch gears. I am hopeful that we have 3 candidates for Oakland Unified School District Board of Directors, District 4 here. If that's the case, is Ms. Sorry, I hit my glasses. Ms. Picolia Hudson Manigo. There you are. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Picolia Hudson Manigo, but I go by Picolia Manigo. I am a mother of 3 children. I have a OUSD graduate, a 2nd grader, and a 7th grader. I'm invested, right? I am proud to be a mother raising children in Oakland. It is not the easiest thing, but somehow, some way, I have made sure that my children have had a preschool experience and an elementary school experience and a middle school experience. But by far, it has been rough, right? It is not easy to raise children in Oakland, right? But I am a firm believer in our public schools. I'm a firm believer that our public schools should be the equalizer in our democratic society. And I have dedicated my life to do that since middle school. I have been fighting for education justice. For 25 years, I have figured out how to design policies with students and parents. I have figured out how to build coalitions. I have gone to Sacramento, to Washington, and any place else to advocate for equitable funding for our public schools, to advocate that there is transparency in our process, and most importantly, that we start to center students and what they need. How many of you have listened to a kindergarten, a first grader, a second grader, third grader, fourth grader? When they talk about how to improve our public schools, they want basic things like joyful experiences. And we have resources in our city to make that possible. We have to get smart. We have to listen to our students and our families. And right now, our Board of Education is not doing that. Our board has closed schools painfully in a way that is not okay. None of us in this room would want to experience that. And yet in this room right now, none of us stood with Parker. We cannot go into 2023 doing the same things in our public education system. We need bold and courageous leadership on our board, but most importantly, we need people whose children go to our school on our Board of Education. We need to ensure that our board moves forward and focuses on making sure our children can read and write and not politics. We need to ensure that we have board members who can build the coalitions across the city, the county, the state, and nationally so that our resources are leveraged as strategically as possible for our kids. I'm running because I have a seven-year-old at home who wants to be an astronaut, a baseball player, engineer, and I think something else yesterday. And you know what? I'm proud that he's been able to have positive experiences in our home during a pandemic, to have those dreams. But what happens in the next year when we go back to school and the resources that he needs to be able to continue to dream and continue to foster those things are not there? What happens to my public school when I'm waitlisted as a parent and I don't have after school? I have listened to parent after parent in District 4 say, hey, what am I going to do? We need practical and real solutions. And guess what? I'm not waiting as well until I get elected to school board. I'm doing the work now. I'm going to continue to fight that we focus on equity, which means we have to do something for our Black students. We have to do something for our English language learners. We have to make sure that our foster youth and our unhoused youth are our highest priority in our public schools. They are the ones we generate the resources for. And guess what? We're not serving them. But I need each and every one of you to do three things today. Number one, challenge every single person running for school board. Ask them what they're doing right now to ensure that our parents and our students are getting their voices and their needs heard. Second thing I need you all to do is I need you to get engaged in our schools. We are going back to school on Monday. Our schools need every single one of us to make sure that our children are welcome back and that they have a positive experience this fall. We owe them that in Oakland. And the third thing I need to do is, if I earn your support, get engaged in my campaign. I am here as a parent. I'm one of the only parents running for school board, and it is not the easiest thing. But I guarantee you this, if you support me, we are going to build a campaign that is people power driven, and we are going to build the coalition necessary to create a different vision for our schools in Oakland. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mike Hutchinson, welcome.
Ready to go? Good to go. So first, thank you for having me here. It is so nice to be able to do this in person again. And hopefully this can continue during the campaign. And it's good to see so many familiar faces. My name is Mike Hutchinson. Currently, I am the school board director for District 5. My house, my family house that I've lived in for over 40 years in Glenview, like many other people's, has been redistricted now through this process. And I really believe that our representatives should actually live in the districts that they're representing. So I'm running this year to represent District 4 and also to make sure that District 5 is left with a representative that actually lives in District 5. So I'm born and raised in Oakland. I'm a proud graduate of Oakland Public Schools. My family has been deeply invested in public education even long before me. My mom was a 40-year kindergarten teacher in OUSD. My father ran the TV and media department at Laney College for 20 years. My younger brother even came and taught in Oakland before he went on to law school and became Mr. Successful Lawyer. And now his two children, my two nieces, attend public school in Oakland. Just as a side note, I tell people all the time, I've been going to school board meetings since before I was born. And so 50 years ago, my mom was part of the first teachers as members of OEA who sued for maternity leave. And so that's the investment that my family has always had in public education and in these neighborhoods. From learning how to play baseball at Redwood Heights Field, which is now the rec center, to then 25 years later being able to work at Redwood Heights. I attended Crocker Highlands, McChesney Junior High, now Edna Brewer, Oakland High, and graduated from Skyline before going on to UC Berkeley. And for myself, I spent 25 years working with youth in Oakland, in the East Bay, and specifically in our schools, until 2012, when the two schools I had worked at for 10 years, Maxwell Park Elementary and Santa Fe Elementary, were slated for closure. And for us would have been a mass round of school closures. And during that process, I got even more deeply engaged. And when our schools, those 5 schools, were closed at the end of the school year, I realized I needed to make a shift from working directly with youth to making sure we have quality schools to attend across the city. Since 2012, by any means necessary, I have fought to change the direction of OUSD. I co-founded an organization here, Oakland Public Education Network. We're founding members of the Journey for Justice National Alliance. I've done everything from testify at the Department of Education in DC to lead protests in the streets. Thankfully, after all of our hard work, it paid off in 2020. And the first thing that paid off in 2020 was the 4 incumbent school board directors were forced out of office and did not run for re-election. And during that campaign, I was able to win this seat in District 5 on a platform of ending school closures and the financial mismanagement of OUSD, bringing back authentic community engagement and collective decision-making, and guaranteeing that every neighborhood has a quality public school by hopefully instituting a new school redesign model. Unfortunately, COVID has delayed some of those things, but I think we've been really successful. I am proud of the work that I've been able to do during the pandemic at the district, from authoring the first resolution that brought regular COVID testing to our school sites, to convening community partners to fill in the gaps. We have stabilized our district finances, which may be hard for some people to believe. But now, for the first time in 20 years, we are projecting surpluses on our next 2 budgets. And that is before we even budget these state surplus dollars coming in. And so we are finally in the position to be able to fund the transformational change we all want. With school closures, it's been a mixed bag. We were able to end the blueprint process, the citywide process, in cohort 3. But as we see, 4 school board directors still wanted to push forward a new plan for school closures. 3 of those 4 board members are not running for re-election. And this is what this election becomes about, is a referendum on what we're going to do going forward. I have the track record of working these issues. I'm now an incumbent school board director and understand what's been happening in the district. And if we do the right thing in these elections, come January, we can have a board that rescinds school closures and turns that into school redesign, which is long overdue in our city, and use these new state surplus dollars, like I said, to fund the change that we need. So please look into my campaign. My name is Mike Hutchinson. Please join our endorsement list. We are getting many major endorsements. And as we go forward, again, it is so important that this election will decide if 8 schools are going to be closed at the end of the year. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Last but certainly not least, for Oakland Unified Board District 4 seat, Nick Resnick, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Good evening to everybody online. I started there. Really grateful to be here with you all today. My name is Nick Resnick. I'm running for the District 4 school board seat. And I am excited to tell you a little bit about myself and our campaign vision. I am a trans and queer identified parent. I have 2 children who live right up the street, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. My 7-year-old attends Sequoia Elementary, and I am here for the next 15 years. I am here for us to sustain focus and create goals that stand the test of time. As a parent, that's a core part of my identity, but I also moved here 15 years ago to teach in Oakland Unified. I moved here in 2008 to teach at Community Day School. Community Day School is a school that is very close to my heart and has been one that was closed through this last process. That school is for our students who have been expelled. And when I went there, I recognized that the programming, the curriculum, the number of adults to support them was not fair and it was not equitable. My students had to walk through metal detectors every single day, right? They had to live through trauma that they did not deserve to go through. It was in that moment that I recognized that when we fail students in terms of literacy, in terms of access to grade level curriculum, when we don't really provide them coursework that engages them, we are not meeting the needs of our children. And we know what happens, right? I have lost students. This is life and death for so many of our families. As I knock on doors, as I meet with students, as I meet with their parents, they want to ensure that there are quality options for every single child in every single neighborhood across our city. And right now, we are not doing that. If you look 40 years back, if you look 20 years back, if you look 10 years back, there are certain schools around certain zip codes that have not been serving the needs of our children. I have had the opportunity to work with Title I districts across the state as a math support coach for a number of years, like Long Beach, Garden Grove, Santa Ana, LAUSD, districts that are doing things differently and disrupting the narrative that has existed for decades for our families of color, for our families from low-income neighborhoods. There are things we can do that are different. And so what I want to bring is a different voice, a collaborative voice, a voice that is interested in inclusive leadership, where any family, any voice can feel safe to enter a school board meeting and share their truth. Whether I agree or disagree in what they have to share, their truth deserves to be out there. So what I hope to bring as your next school board member is a parent voice, is a teacher voice, right? And a voice for our children. My 3 top priorities are a crystal clear and laser focus on our students, right? My child was in kindergarten during COVID. I recognize that mental health is something we need to focus in on and invest in. I also recognize that literacy rates across our district and 8th grade math proficiency is inequitable from neighborhood to neighborhood. And we have the power to do something differently about that. So crystal clear focus on student well-being and their academic success. Number 2, I'm currently the CEO of a curriculum company. I know what it takes to manage a budget and to support responsibility and sustainability. And lastly, as a trans and queer identified father and parent, I recognize that we need an inclusive environment in order to make any drastic improvements here. So I ask you today to check out Nick for oaklandschools.com, join our campaign, learn a little bit about what we're trying to do, and I would really appreciate your community and your support as we tackle this, what has felt like an insurmountable hurdle in our city for decades and decades. So thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate being in community with all of you tonight.
Thank you so much, Nick. For folks here in the room and not those online, although you're certainly welcome to, just a quick round of applause for all of our candidates tonight. For those who are willing to stay, we've unfortunately lost several candidates just due to the time, but for those to like to say we do have a few questions for each seat that's being run for, and I'll turn it over to Heather Harris. Thank you.
Hi all, Heather. I'm just going to help moderate questions. And we're going to start with the candidates for City Council. So if you both just want to come up real quick, or if you're both here. We're just going to do one question for City Council, and then School Board, and then Mayor for those who are left with us today. And we're going to give you about 2 minutes for your answer. 2 minutes, sound good?
We'll pay attention for our time.
And so we'll have you start. And our first question for our first, oh yeah, they're online. The first question that was submitted that we'll ask to our two City Council candidates. What are your three top priorities to solve in the city, and what practical applications would you apply to solve those problems?
Hi, everyone. 3 priorities. Firstly, public safety. Public safety must involve a combination of intervention and prevention. Intervention to me includes a fully staffed patrol. 35 officers on a patrol ship for all of Oakland is not enough. I've done the ride-alongs. I've sat down with the police chiefs. I understand the gaps that are there in patrol in the way it stands. But we can't address public safety without addressing the roots. So to me, addressing the root crimes of prevention means economic opportunity, means jobs, means meaningful ways in which to earn living wages. If it's not college, if it's not trade school, if it's not coding classes, we need to be offering real options. Second main priority, infrastructure. By infrastructure, I mean our roads. I knock on doors in this district. I have since April of this year, 4 to 5 times a week. And the number 1 and number 2 things I hear from residents is crime and the roads. If you can accomplish 1/10 of either of those things, you know, folks are really energized about both of those. The point that I'm trying to make here is we're co-creating a platform. Our campaign set out early on to co-create a platform. And because public safety and infrastructure were prioritized, we are talking to the experts, talking to the existing leaders, talking to the existing policymakers and the city administrator side to see where the gaps lie. Infrastructure means road paving. Measure KK funds are about to expire. If we're not going to be able to pass the new ballot measure that's going to extend some of those funds, we need to be proactively applying for state and federal funding. Finally, homelessness and housing. We have over 10,000 and growing unhoused community members in Oakland. More than 1,000 are young people. We need a combination of 3 things. 1, building on public land. The Surplus Land Act, which makes sure that public land must first go to nonprofit affordable housing providers, is often forgotten in our process of using public land for public good. Second, with regard to homelessness, changing our mindset of who is unhoused and why they're unhoused. In my background as a case manager working with mostly unhoused pregnant mothers, I saw in my experiences the different reasons why people are unhoused, and we need to change our policy framing to rethink what the solutions are. For many people, it might be a roof over your head, but for enough other folks, it might be systematic services. How do we get those services? Better relationships with the county, more advocacy for the mental health services, addiction services. That is the county's responsibility to be fulfilling that they're not right now. We need to build the relationships to advocate for local, state, and federal funding on all these issues. I see my time is up. Thank you.
Yeah. So the question is, what are your three most serious problems you see for the city, and what practical applications would you apply to solve these problems?
Housing the unhoused is huge. We also need to make sure we're thinking about those who have housing insecurities, because we're in District 4. We're not seeing the homeless like if you go downtown. So we need to make sure that we're thinking about the homes, the residents that could be here, and the ones that could be struggling to soon to become unhoused. We have to continue with our affordable housing. We have that coming up in the district thanks to Councilperson Sheng Tao. We also have not too far from here at Grand Lake, we have a building coming up right there, and it's about 36 to 45 units. affordable housing, studios 1, 2s, and 3s. We need to keep building. We need to keep building. We need to build on public land as well. But we also need to think about jobs. Jobs is not being talked about. Trade schools and trade options in school. Public safety is a double-edged sword. As a person who's been a victim, we need to make sure that we center victims around some of these crimes that are happening, and that we also make sure that we're out there in the community just being a part of violence prevention. This is what I've done, with my nephew, as I mentioned earlier, going to Sacramento, sitting in those meetings, finding out from somebody who's committing these crimes, what's it gonna take? And it's gonna take talking to the young people. We have to inspire them. City Hall needs to inspire people to do more work and also to lead other people onto the right path. And then infrastructure and traffic safety. Infrastructure, what I want to do in this area is make sure it's well. We need to walk. I want to make sure it's good for able and unable people. We don't think about unable people when we talk about infrastructure, and we got to do that. There are people with wheelchairs, there are people that are aging. It's very important. But economic development, making sure that we create a cohesive vision for Dimond. You have a lot of business owners that I see looking through the window. If we start to do the work that I expect us to do, many of them will be out of business. So as we're looking at gentrification and housing the unhoused, and we also need to look at businesses not having space coming soon. This is an opportunity to not just look at housing, but also businesses. These small businesses are actually jobs for people. So these are some of the things that I want to work on. And again, follow me at joinerforoakland.com.
All right, we'll do our school board candidate question next, and then we'll end with mayor. So if the school board candidates want to come line up, we'll have you come up one at a time. And here is your question. So student enrollment in the district has been on the decline for years, causing loss of state money to OUSD. What do you think should be done to deal with this trend?
Ladies first. No problem. So listen, I've spent the last couple of weeks listening to D4 residents, especially young parents. And one of the things that I think is such a crime that we can solve is that people just do not know how to enroll in our schools. And they don't know how to look up the schools and how they match to what their kids need. So I think the first thing we have to do is ensure that we're doing robust outreach to our preschool parents and ensure that they know how to get their children into our TK, which if you don't know is transitional kindergarten, and then also ensuring that they know how to enroll their children in our kindergarten. It's not mandated. Most people come in first grade, and most folks don't know that. I think that that's a big issue when you're listening to parents that comes up significantly. I think the second thing we have to do is we have to acknowledge that a lot of our families want different options than what our school district is currently offering. We're a Spanish language learner family. Some people get really shocked about that, but my children are enrolled in dual language immersion programs, and there's high demand for that. Yet when we go to board meetings, we do not hear a discussion about how we expand our dual language immersion programs. Many people want their children to learn a language other than English, and vice versa. Many of our English language learners want to retain their native tongue, and they would like to see instruction in both languages. So we have to begin to listen deeply to what people are saying they want in our public education system, and we haven't done that. Our enrollment office can do better. We have an enrollment committee that has yet to have a conversation at the board to present its recommendations. That's not okay. And though we have lots of resources, we have to get more strategic with where those resources are being directed. And that is a challenge of the current board. It has not strategically thought through and listened to what parents and students are saying they want those investments to be done. Instead, we're seeing massive investment in central office. That's not the alignment that families are asking for. So again, please come check out my campaign. I'd love to hear other ideas from community. You can check me out on Portfolio for Oakland. FOR.com. Awesome. Thank you for this question. I really appreciate it. So since 2016, I've really been working to connect with Oakland families and to try to understand why we were losing so many families after 5th grade. So what I didn't have the opportunity to share is I taught at Anna Brewer Middle School for 5 years. And the number of students that we lost from our elementary feeder schools after 5th grade was really disheartening. And so at that time, I started to try to understand what is going on here. I live a few blocks away. My child should go to Bret Hart. When I talk to the Bret Hart principal, the Bret Hart community, they are under-enrolled. We have people living in those neighborhoods that are choosing not to go to our schools. So when I speak to over 500 families across District 4, right, from now the new Hillcrest neighborhood to Allendale to the Laurel, right, to the Fruitvale, up to Redwood Heights to Montclair, what they want is to ensure that they can feel comfortable, right, with the decision to remain in our school system K through 12th grade. So when we look at the 10,000 student decline over the past few decades, and we look at that 15,000 student decline, we have the power to invest in resources to make sure we're doing monthly events at our middle schools, to change the narrative of what our families are saying, because they're actually not saying what's true. They're saying what their neighbors have told them from 10, 20 years ago. So what we need to do is work together to invest in Bret Hart Middle School, to invest in Montera, right? And Claremont and Anna Brewer, they weren't like that 10, 15 years ago. Talk to people who have been here well before me. Mike could share. So the deal is we need to organize, we need to work with parents, and we need to make sure that there are viable options with programming that supports the needs of what parents are telling us they want. So I look forward over the next 15 years, again, a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, to being here, setting goals around that, and working with the community to ensure they can see themselves from K through 12 and not just K through 5, and then, you know, go to private, go somewhere else. So thank you for this question. It's really important to the constituents.
Oh, thank you. I have a little bit of different take on it. I think it's really important that we make sure that we're dealing with actual information and the true facts. And what we've had in Oakland for the last 20 years is these false narratives put on our school district in order to justify policy decisions by board members who are no longer in office. And so for the official numbers for enrollment, in 2012-2013, OUSD had 36,368 students. In 2018-19, 6 years later, the enrollment was 36,468 students. It actually went up by 100 students during that period. We do not have a district with shrinking enrollment now. And what happens is different narratives get conflated. So yes, we have had the highest rate of charter schools in the state of California for 15 years. And those 15,000 students that are cited have been siphoned off of our public schools into charter schools. I worked really hard to get Assembly Bill 1505 passed, which brings local control to those decisions. And we can see just over the last 18 months, 4 charters in Oakland voluntarily gave up their charter. And we see that they're facing a much larger decline in enrollment than our schools are. But we have to be explicit. We need to do much better. If we restore the trust, if we use these new dollars for transformational change, if we work on having real school redesign instead of closing a school and calling it redesign, if we create the system where people in the neighborhood will feel comfortable finally sending their kids to their neighborhood school, we will all be better off. And I've worked really hard over the last 18 months to help create those conditions, and we are so close. And let's be explicit, this has been a historical problem in Oakland and OUSD. This idea that you have to go up the hill to get a quality education. It is a question of will. And finally, we need to move away from the idea that expanding access to quality means building more space in hill schools instead of building more quality schools across all of Oakland. So as we go forward, it's really important that we use the actual data and information so we can make quality policy decisions. Thank you.
All right, last question for our mayoral candidates who were able to stay around till the end. So if you guys all want to come up, and I think we still have a couple online, maybe.
We do have 2 online, and by request, if I can type the question for them into the chat.
Yeah, or I can do that too when I'm done here. So, okay, so the question for the mayoral candidates submitted online by our District 4 audience is really focused around our unhoused community. So the question is that everyone in Oakland is distraught about our unhoused community. Everyone says we should do something about it, but it seems like nothing's being done. So can you offer your top practical solution for what you'll do to help end this crisis in Oakland?
Good evening again. I feel like it was just like 3 hours ago that we were up here. Thank you all for hanging with us. For all the folks online, thank you for hanging with us. One of the things I want to point out is that I really appreciate the hybrid nature of this meeting, and I think city council meetings, school board meetings, and board of supervisors meetings should continue to be in person and with Zoom, because it gives us a lot more people to participate. I think the biggest things we need to do around the homeless issue, and I appreciate those of you who are in the room who have experienced the homelessness issue. I have not, but I have empathy for the folks that I see on the street, like Rendell and Raven and other people I know who are currently living on the streets. Number one, we got to make sure we produce more affordable and very affordable housing and go beyond tiny homes. Get to the place where people can have housing that's fit for human beings. Number two, we got to make sure that we keep folks who are in their homes, renters, the eviction moratorium worked for a whole lot of folks during COVID. We need to continue that moratorium while we support landlords who are struggling to keep their mortgages paid, especially the small, landlords, not the big corporate landlords. And then third, we really got to get up under why people are homeless. When the count is done every year, 67% of the people were asked, why are you homeless? And they cited 2 reasons. One, economic insecurity. So having the universal basic income pilot be expanded so people have some basic needs that are met. And second, they said, I lost my job, and so 1 month of rent made the difference between me being homeless or not. 37% of people said it was a combination of either substance abuse, that there was no real intervention, or the lack of mental health services. And this is where the city of Oakland has to work with the county of Alameda. County of Alameda sits on a $2 billion reserve. The metaphor for a reserve is a rainy day fund. Well, folks, it's raining, it's storming, it's a tsunami. Any metaphor you want to use to say that it's a crisis has to be in place. So our city council, our mayor have to be in partnership with the members of the board of supervisors. So those are among the things that we need to do. We need to make sure that we are taking care of our neighbors. It's not only an economic issue, it is a moral one.
2 minutes to answer one of the most pressing issues across our state. It's really hard. I invite y'all to visit victoryforoakland.com. I have been homeless in this city as a child with my entire family. I'm one of the only candidates who is a renter right now and who is running on not continuing to enforce our encampment management policy, but shifting our city, shifting our goal and our North Star to housing people, not managing our tent cities, not managing poverty, not managing our encampments. That decision is burdening every part of our city service, every city department. I don't know if y'all have been in libraries, but they basically operate as homeless shelters in some parts of our city, where people go for shelter from the weather, where people go to charge their phones, where people go to use the bathroom, right? Because we are not addressing the problem, we're managing it. So that is a fundamental shift that I am offering in my platform, is we're not going to continue managing. We're not going to have our homeless administrator focus on management teams. We're going to focus on putting people back into housing fit for human beings. That includes the public lands policy that another candidate mentioned that our council had started working on and has just stopped. That includes public banking, which is a mechanism for our city to control the development, not depend on private philanthropy, not depend on some foreign groups to want to house our residents, but for our city to have control over our public dollars, to invest, to have control over our public lands, to use it to address our emergency crises. These are, again, things that our city, that our mayor could have been doing since we declared a local emergency due to homelessness back in 2018. So I'm committed to releasing a full executive plan of how we'll address this starting on day one. And I already serve every single week in our encampments. I provide food and clothing distribution as I was trained to. It's very concerning that many of my opponents have stated in other forums and spaces that they support ending our eviction moratorium right now. That is tied to our health pandemic. If we have not lifted our health orders, we're having mask mandates, we're having monkeypox emergencies, then that does not end. We have to still offer full assistance to landlords and to tenants. But again, we're going to see an eviction cliff and more people become homeless while we're already not serving the existing unhoused population. Our city is already in crisis and we could see it get even worse if y'all can imagine that. So thank you for the opportunity to talk with you all. Come talk to me after victoryforoakland.com.
The homelessness issue in Oakland is one that I would probably provide tent cities and public land to the tent cities. These tent cities will have emergency services on site because in San Francisco, they have like 4 or 5 transients and they cost the city like 4 to 5 million in annual tax dollars just to bring these people into the hospitals consecutive times. They could be a overdose on drugs, or they have some kind of fight and that they're injured and the ambulance comes and they take them to the hospital. And sometimes they get some sandwiches and they just get out, and that costs taxpayers a lot of money. So we have to centralize these services, and the only effective way would be to have these tent cities along with the services provided on site. Now, as a combat veteran, I have been in tents in the desert for years, and some of these commercial tents last years, and it would be a very viable option to house these people on an emergency basis. Then they wouldn't have to, suffer the elements. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. First of all, I want to acknowledge all of the other candidates who are running for mayor. It is great to see so many talented folks wanting to step up for the town. So when it comes to homelessness, I think, as I said earlier, these questions, these challenges that we face are deeply personal to me. I myself have struggled to support family members who have struggled through homelessness right here in Oakland. More than half of my family no longer lives in the town. They've been displaced because of these challenges. So when we talk about the cost of housing rising by 270% over the past 20 years, when the average household incomes rose by only 10%, that in and of itself is the answer as to what we are struggling with and what we are fighting against. So the only real solution to homelessness is housing and getting people housed. But until we can get everybody housed, there are a number of things that we have to do. We have to maintain our focus on interagency partnerships, strong partnerships between the city, the county, the state, the federal government, our corporate partners, our nonprofit partners. We also have to focus on making housing more affordable. And that includes, yes, government subsidies, yes, using our public land for public good so that can help write down the costs. We have to also look at improving and increasing our design standards. We have to look at government getting out of the way. Our building and planning department takes forever to get through. And so we have to be able to look at being more operationally efficient with government. Housing itself is not alone. It cannot be alone. We also have to look at services. We're talking about mental health services, social services, helping residents, unhoused residents, get access to benefits that they're already eligible for, whether it's veteran benefits, whether it's other social services through the county and beyond. We also have to look at workforce development, because one thing is to bring down the cost of housing. The other is to up-level people's ability to earn a living wage so that they can actually afford more as well. And yes, I am supportive of the encampment management policy. We absolutely have to hold a standard for health and safety in and around encampments. The 150 fires that we had last year, not acceptable. The significantly higher amount of violent crime that occurs in encampments, not acceptable. The litter, the folks that come and illegally dump around encampments, we have to hold the line there as well, so that to keep that from spilling out of control. So yes, that is important. And when it comes to managing, reporting, having a standard, we have to implement a dashboard so that we know where we are, where we're going, and how we're making progress towards that. That's the operational management that I have had the experience of implementing outside of City Hall, in City Hall, and I look forward to making sure that we use those same best practices to move forward when it comes to homelessness. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Not seeing any other on-site mayoral candidates. I want to give me just a second. We're going to promote Seneca Scott here, and we have to do a little bit of technological trickery to make this work. So bear with me just a second. Thank you. Okay, let's make sure this is on full blast. And this is on. Yeah. Okay, Seneca, are you there?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Okay, homeless. So the lack of affordable housing remains a fundamental contributor to the homeless crisis. I absolutely agree with that. I also agree that it's cruel and unfair to our unhoused neighbors to continue to allow them to live in squalor. It's time for them to get the help that they desperately need, not want. Our failure to enforce the encampment management policy has been devastating. Over 900 deaths in Alameda County because of our inability to have the courage to do what's necessary. We have to triage. We have to be honest about the differences in our encampments. We have over 360 encampments in Oakland. However, there are less than 10 of them that serve as open-air drug zones, sanctioned prostitution zones, sanctioned illegal dumping zones. They're absolutely lawless, and they need to immediately be closed down as a public health disaster. Many of these individuals will not take offers of housing if they get it. Over 70% of our unhoused neighbors have extreme mental illness and drug addiction problems. Here's the problem what I heard a lot about, I used the word hopium. I heard a lot of hopes and dreams and teddy bears, and everybody needs a house and a condo. We're gonna give a house to everyone who comes to Oakland because of our permissiveness. That is absolutely insane. Who's gonna pay for that? 20% of our budget right now comes from COVID relief funds. We don't have the money to pay for that. Not for everyone, not to keep growing our homeless 24% every 2 years in perpetuity. Housing alone as a solution to our homeless crisis, it's like food alone for a solution to someone with an eating disorder. It's contemptuous. It shows a lack of originality, a lack of courage. It shows performative altruism that's contributing to magnifying this crisis. So here's what we're going to do different. We're going to sort the different encampments. Which street? East 12th Street, Alameda Avenue, right? The ones that you know are lawless, open-air drug zones. We're not going to permit people to sell drugs and kill people, kill our neighbors and kill themselves. We're not going to present open-air meth labs to cook on Wood Street and explode and ignore that this is happening. We're not going to ignore that the new face of homelessness is white, transient males playing on Black and brown communities, stealing our promise and our wealth and our future. We will not have that. We're going to be honest about that. We're going to uplift and protect the 30% of our unhoused neighbors who just need housing first. We need to get them housing first. How are we going to put them in the same queue as someone with intense mental illness? It's absolutely ludicrous what I'm hearing right now. This is why we continue to be in the situation that we're in. We're going to treat the encampment differently depending on if they're being good neighbors or not. If you can't be a good neighbor and take care of yourself, if you're going to have pervasive theft, open-air drug dealing, fires at 3 a day, we're going to shut that encampment down for the community because that's what the community told me they want when I'm in DP Sofa. I am sick of it. I am absolutely over the performative altruism in Oakland. It has to end. We're going to bring an honest face and an honest voice to solving the homeless crisis in Oakland. Senator Scott for mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay.